Sometimes a movie has a hook that immediately gets you hooked. When I saw the trailer for The Long Walk and learned of a scenario where a group of boys are forced to work essentially an endless amount of time or die, I just thought, damn, I gotta see how that plays out. And thus, I made not the long walk, but the short walk from my car in the parking lot to the movie theater to see The Long Walk this past Friday night, in what eventually became a packed auditorium. In The Long Walk, a group of 50 older boys to young men are forced to walk a continuous amount of time down a roadway path at a 3-mile-per-hour pace. Should they stop walking or slow down from the required speed? After 3 brief warnings, they'll be shot dead on spot by military forces watching over them. The last of the boys standing, or walking, is the winner of a major cash prize and a wish to be fulfilled. Holy shit, quite the premise. This takes place in a dystopian version of America, ruled by a totalitarian regime. This movie is based on a Stephen King novel, which I know nothing about, but I gotta imagine that actually enhanced the experience for me, in me just being wowed by this brutal f***ed up premise, and how the movie lives up to this premise in every single way. The movie doesn't hold back in showing the brutal factors of these boys' situation, naturally being immense fatigue, but then answering the question that everyone in the theater had, and I'm sure the boys in the movie had, which is how the f*** do they take a piss or a dump? Well, taking a piss isn't too much trouble, but finding enough time to spread your ass cheeks when you have to continuously walk proves to be highly problematic. The whole setup and death game scenario can't help but remind you of The Hunger Games, which I'm sure in a pure coincidence this movie is directed by Francis Lawrence, who directed all the Hunger Game movies after the first film. That experience I'm sure helped him in nailing down showcasing the brutal conditions and always having you feel tense for all the boys present. The impressive thing for all the boys here in this situation is that it's not all just doom and gloom for them in this sucky scenario. You get to see these boys act like boys and having real conversations that are humorous and often heartfelt as they try to pull themselves through this impossible situation. I very much enjoyed all the personalities here, but in the back of your mind you can't help but feel like, man, how's this going to play out when I'm sure all of them know that everyone they've met is going to die? And the movie does not hold back in the brutality of their deaths. This movie made those simple gunshots f***ing horrific. And I just always felt that eye-covering ouch feeling. There's a moment when they show one of the boys that has a messed up ankle after continuously walking for a long time. And the entire audience just made an "oh" noise. The best scene in the movie was a sequence where after a long time of walking, the boys are faced with an unexpected steep uphill walk. And it's a plane leveling sequence for those who will survive and those who are too weak. But it really invoked a "oh shit" feeling once you realize what was happening. If there's one unfortunate thing, is that the movie did get a little predictable or convenient when it came to who ended up surviving. It's just hard to imagine that the most talkative boys were the ones that had the lung energy to keep going as long as they did, but it did feel like convenient film writing for the scenario to play out like it did. But to be fair, you needed those connections to invest yourself in how things will play out, even though you know that death is going to hit almost all of these guys eventually, but I was still invested. I was most impressed in how they managed to turn your feelings around about characters who are the initial assholes of the group, but in the end, mostly all of your notable characters are able to have one shining character moment to some degree. When you're in a scenario where you're forced to walk or die, there's no such thing as a true asshole or a villain of the group. That honor would be reserved to the ones making them do this walking, headed by the general, or the major as he's called. If you thought the general from James Cameron's Avatar was cliche, then wait till you get a load of this guy. He is Colonel Cliche, a real over-the-top personality, but I guess that's what made him fun to some degree, and he has an interaction towards the end of the film that was the biggest laugh I got here. The Long Walk was definitely a worthwhile experience. And I mean the movie, not actually doing the walking, that. But the movie itself was excellent. Couldn't help but feel that pain that those boys were in, but that was the movie really delivering on the concept that had me hooked from the trailer. For those who don't know, there was a special screening of this film where you could watch it on a treadmill at a 3-mile-per-hour pace, just like the boys in the movie. And if you dip below that pace, you get kicked out. With this film only being an hour and 40 minutes without credits, I mean, that's the equivalent of walking to the fridge and back compared to what's shown in this movie. I did not see it in this format, but it does sound like a very interesting experience. So that'll do it for this review of The Long Walk. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.
You boys are the answer. The long walk is the answer.